Hi, welcome to another episode of tonight's double feature. It's been a minute. It's been a second or two since I have done an episode, but I'm very excited to be back with y'all to chat about a couple films that I am calling Romero adjacent movies. And this is kind of a subgenre that I'm possibly halfway making up. I don't know. But I'm a little, I'm a little bit sad right now because at the time of this recording, the Living Dead weekend is going to be going on this coming weekend over in um, Monroeville, Pennsylvania, where they shot Dawn of the Dead at the Monroeville Mall over there. And I was there a couple years ago. I had a great time chatting with uh, John Russo and Russ Streiner and all sorts of people associated with the George Romero zombie universe, if you will. And so I'm a little sad that I can't be over there this year. I'm gonna go back definitely at some point, but I couldn't make it out this year. So I figured, let me jump on camera and talk about a couple movies that I've been thinking about lately that are Romero adjacent. And we're gonna start tonight with a film called FleshEater, which I have this absolutely beautiful 4K release from, I believe it's Vinegar Syndrome. Let me double check just to make sure I have that right. Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome. Show off some of the packaging here a little bit as well. This is a film by Bill Hinzman, who is certainly best known. This is him on the front. Certainly best known for his portrayal of the very first zombie in Night of the Living Dead, the famous graveyard scene with him and Russ Streiner, and he plays the first zombie, in that opening scene of the film. And what he wanted to do, or what he decided to do, was in the 90s, or maybe late 80s, not 100% sure, 1988. In 1988, he made the decision to bring the character back and direct a sequel in a way to Night of the Living Dead, featuring his original zombie character. And so I say Romero adjacent movies, and what I mean by that is movies that feature a lot of the people who were in sort of that inner Romero Pittsburgh-based inner circle, but not necessarily, George wasn't necessarily involved directly in any way. And that's certainly the case with this film, FleshEater, sorry for the glare, because apparently George wasn't too happy about this, from what I understand. And I think he actually ended up suing Bill Hinzman for, infringing on the character, or whatever you want to call it. Bill Hinzman also was involved with like the production angle of Night of the Living Dead and other Romero films, and was a cinematographer. And so he had a lot of different, he had his hands in a lot of different paints when it came to the Pittsburgh film scene. So let me just read a little bit of the back of what we have on the Vinegar Syndrome release here, because I think it's pretty interesting. It says, a lo-fi gore epic directed by actor and cinematographer Bill Hinzman from The Crazies, and obviously also Night of the Living Dead. Star zombie in the classic Night of the Living Dead, FleshEater, aka Revenge of the Living Dead, is a fitting tribute and homage to Romero's chilling masterpiece, updating the setting to the late 1980s while while piling on the gut-munching, throat-ripping, and limb-tearing action. So, you can just kind of see from the back there, it's a really fun movie, actually. It takes place during Halloween, and Bill brings his classic zombie character back to munch on some teenagers. He gets a little bit too handsy with one of the girls in this movie. A little bit weird, but I don't, hopefully it wasn't anything where she wasn't expecting it. But there's a lot of blood and guts in this movie, and it is, in fact, a fitting homage to the character and to the Romero, to this zombie from the Romero, from the original Night of the Living Dead film. And there's other people involved with this movie as well. In particular, I'm not going to remember his name. I should have looked it up beforehand. But what's interesting about this movie is there's a character from the original Night of the Living Dead who comes back for this one at the end to do essentially the same thing that he does in Night of the Living Dead, where in Night of the Living Dead he shoots Ben at the end of the film, spoiler, and he does the same thing here, and I don't remember his name. If you're watching the video and you're a big Night of the Living Dead fan, you probably know who I'm talking about. I want to say his name is Vince. And I don't know if there's anything on the special features here that says anything about him or not. Trying to look really quick. But he's in this as well. And it's great. So highly recommend checking this out if you haven't seen it, FleshEater. Bill actually has his kids in the movie as well as zombies. And I want to say there's a special feature on here called The Family Continues, Remembering Bill with Bonnie Hinzman, his wife. There's an interview with actress Heidi Hinzman, who's in the film. There's a lot of special features on this Vinegar Syndrome release, and it's 4K. I can't watch the 4K because I don't have a 4K player yet. I still keep waiting for a deal where the price on a 4K player comes down. But that's a whole nother issue. The back of the slipcover here. Very, very nice release from Vinegar Syndrome. I did a video, an unboxing video on my personal channel. Got the nice little embossing there and everything. Super, super good. But that's FleshEater, a Bill Hinzman film featuring some other Romero adjacent players from the Pittsburgh filmmaking scene. There's probably even a couple other people involved who I have neglected to mention, and if that's the case, I do apologize. But moving on, movie number 2 is a film that is probably not quite as highly regarded as FleshEater, and that would be this little gem right here, Children of the Living Dead. And it says, on the bottom here, it says, from an executive producer of Nightmare on Elm Street. And as you can see, I got a little sticker over the title there. I paid $1 for this at a thrift shop recently and was very excited to find this because I had been looking for it for quite a while, and now I finally have my hands on it and we can talk about it. This is a movie that came out in, I want to say, 2001. So a handful of years, 11, 12 years after FleshEater. Bill Hinzman is involved again. I want to say that he is the director of photography on this film. I could be wrong about that. Cinematography by Bill Hinzman. I'm right about that. But this is a movie that is intended to be basically like a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead, where children, I don't even know how to talk about this. There's some children that got killed and then they come back later. And this is a movie that is has a pretty bad reputation, let's put it that way. But I will tell you, I actually enjoy it for what it is. It's goofy, it's cheesy. I know that John Russo was one of the producers and seemingly kind of disowned it because people didn't really feel that it turned out the way that they were anticipating it to turn out. This was directed by a guy named Tor A. Ramsey. Now, I'm not sure if that's his real name or not. And I don't even know if he is really in that sort of Romero adjacent inner circle or not. He may have been more of an outsider. Again, I'm not totally sure about that. But there's plenty of other Romero adjacent people in this movie. Tom Savini is in this film. Sam Nicotero is in this film. I believe he's the brother of Greg Nicotero, or maybe I think it's his older brother. Again, if you're a big fan and you're watching this video and I get anything wrong, please by all means feel free to drop a comment and correct me and let me know, because I may be a little bit off on some of this. I'm not an expert on all of these people. Heidi Hinzman is in this as well. I just mentioned her from FleshEater. And yeah, Children of the Living Dead. It's an interesting watch if you can find it. I'm not sure how readily available it is on streaming. Like I said, I found this randomly in a thrift store. But if you can get your hands on it, it's kind of one of those fascinating failures where they wanted to make a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and it didn't quite pan out. Written by, let me see if I can figure out, I have to do the thing now. I'm getting old enough to the point where I have to, I have to do the whole bifocal thing, but I refuse to do it. Screenplay by Karen Lee Wolfe and produced by Karen Lee Wolfe as well. Produced by John A. Russo. Executive producer Joseph Wolfe. So there might be some people outside of the circle involved in this one who tried to take a crack at it and it didn't quite pan out. But again, I had fun with it. If you sort of go into it knowing that it's going to be bad, then you can kind of just not take it too seriously and make an attempt to have a good time with it. There's a lot of voiceover. There's a lot of, or not voiceover, but like kind of blatant ADR where you can tell that people were having to replace a lot of the dialogue. But you got some special features on there. A photo gallery, some trailers, not much, I suppose. It's digitally mastered. That's great. Tom Savini is actually really fun in this movie. He's certainly not in it a lot, but for what he does in the film, there's some fun stuff. And again, with the ADR, there's a lot of, you can tell that like Tom didn't have a lot of dialogue, and then they went back in, I think with a different actor, and put a lot of dialogue in there that wasn't originally intended to be in there, and kind of turned it into this halfway comedy situation. I totally get that why the people involved have kind of disowned it, because it's a weird sort of half-baked experience, but I think it's worth a watch. So that's that's Children of the Living Dead. And let's get a thumbnail going here. If you are someone who, well, if you just enjoyed watching this video, I suppose, and you want me to do more Romero adjacent, maybe a volume 2 of Romero adjacent films, let me know. Leave a comment down below, because I have some more movies in my collection that would sort of qualify as Romero adjacent films. So if you're into it, maybe I'll do another video trying to get my fingers out of here as much as possible. So yeah, leave me a comment down below and let me know if you would like to see more Romero adjacent movies. And here's your thumbnail. And thank you for watching.